when I wore the wrong dress to my boyfriend's company party. My boyfriend Jake had this super important work party coming up. He kept telling me how fancy it was and how I needed to look good for his boss and coworkers. He even said his promotion might depend on making the right impression. So I went shopping and found this gorgeous red dress at Nordstrom. It was classy but had a little slit up the side. Perfect for a fancy company event, right? The day of the party, I spent hours getting ready. Did my hair, makeup, nails, the whole thing. When Jake saw me, he froze. He looked me up and down and said the dress was too much. I asked what he meant, and he said it was too flashy for his work people. I was confused because it wasn't even that revealing. He suggested I change into something more conservative, but we were already running late, so I said I'd be fine. He got quiet and weird in the car, checking his phone constantly. When we got to the hotel ballroom, I immediately noticed something was off. All the other women were dressed super plain, like boring black dresses and beige pantsuits. I looked around and realized I was the only one wearing anything with color or style. Jake introduced me to his boss, Mr. Williams, who seemed nice enough, but then I met his coworkers and their wives. They were all giving me these weird looks and whispering to each other. One woman, Janet, came up and asked where I got my dress. When I told her Nordstrom, she said, "Oh, that's expensive," and walked away. During dinner, I overheard two wives talking behind me. One said something about how some people try too hard to get attention. The other laughed and said young girls these days don't know how to dress appropriately. I realized they were talking about me. My face turned hot with embarrassment. Jake barely talked to me all night. He kept checking his work phone and avoiding eye contact. When I tried to join conversations, people would smile politely, then change the subject. I felt like everyone was judging me for my dress choice. During the awards ceremony, I excused myself to the bathroom. In the bathroom, I ran into another woman around my age. She introduced herself as Lisa and said she was there with her husband from accounting. She looked at my dress and said it was beautiful. I thanked her and mentioned feeling overdressed. She laughed and said everyone else was playing it super safe because the company culture was really conservative. Then she told me something shocking. She said Jake's ex-girlfriend Emma used to come to these parties when they dated. Apparently, Emma always wore these plain, boring outfits that made her blend into the background. Lisa said Jake seemed to prefer women who didn't stand out or draw attention away from him. I was processing this when Lisa mentioned that Emma was actually at the party tonight. She pointed through the bathroom door at a woman in a beige dress talking to Jake. They looked really comfortable together, laughing and touching each other's arms. My stomach dropped. Jake had never mentioned Emma would be there. I watched them for a few minutes from across the room. Jake was more animated talking to her than he'd been with me all evening. When the dancing started, he asked Emma to dance first, not me. I stood there in my red dress feeling completely stupid and out of place. That's when I realized what was really happening. Jake didn't want me to look good because he was still hung up on his ex. He wanted me to dress boring so I wouldn't outshine Emma or attract attention from other men. The whole thing about impressing his boss was complete garbage. I walked over to where they were dancing and tapped Jake's shoulder. I told him I was getting a ride home with Lisa. He looked panicked and asked what was wrong. I said nothing was wrong, I just finally understood what kind of party this really was. Emma looked confused, but I didn't care. Lisa drove me home and we talked the whole way. She said she'd noticed how Jake treated me versus how he acted around Emma. She also mentioned that several guys at the party had complimented my dress to their wives. Apparently, I wasn't the problem. Jake was. When Jake got home later, he tried to act like nothing happened. He said I embarrassed him by leaving early and that his coworkers thought I was rude. I told him I knew about Emma and that his real problem wasn't my dress. He got defensive and said they were just friends. I packed my stuff that night. The next morning, I found out from Lisa that Jake and Emma left the party together right after I did. They went to some late-night diner and were seen holding hands in the parking lot. Lisa's husband took pictures because he thought it was messed up. Jake called me crying a week later saying Emma rejected him and he made a huge mistake. I told him he was right about one thing. I definitely wore the wrong dress to his company party. I should have worn my breakup outfit instead.